Hi guys, it's Coach Chloe with Carolina Chargers Volleyball Club, and in this video, I'm going to be going over all the basics on how to be a good down ref. Let's get started. The first thing you're going to need to be a down ref is a whistle. So you can either use the mouth whistle or you can use an electronic whistle like I have here. There are only a few reasons why you as an R2 would need to blow your whistle. You will blow your whistle once for a timeout. You will blow your whistle twice for a substitution. You will blow your whistle once if there is a player in the net when playing the ball. You will blow your whistle once if there is a player who crosses the center line and interferes with players on the other side of the court. You will not blow your whistle every time the R1 blows his whistle. You might have to blow your whistle if you see a ball rolling on the court. We want to stop play so that players are not injured with a ball on the court while they are playing. As you're working as an R2, it's a really good idea to have a stopwatch. After we do the coin toss, we're going to know which side is going to be warming up first. So each team gets 4 minutes to warm up for club volleyball. Usually the coaches are going to want to do 3 minutes of hitting lines and 1 minute to serve. So as you're timing those 4 minutes, when you get to 3 minutes, you need to let the coach know, hey coach, 1 minute left, and they'll start their serves. Listen to the coaches because sometimes they'll tell you they want to know when it's 2 minutes. So once they have reached those 4 minutes, we're going to blow our whistle and we're going to wave them off the court. Lineups. It is your responsibility as an R2 to hand these out to the coaches. So you can hand these to them or you can set them on their bench and they need to be filled out and turned back in to you. Once they are turned into you, we need to make sure that everything is filled out correctly. So all the numbers need to be in the boxes. We need to make sure that there is a C listed for a captain. There needs to be 2 things in their libero spot. If they're running 1 libero, they need to have a number and an X. No liberos, 2 X's. 2 liberos, they need to have 2 numbers in those boxes. And then we want to make sure that the coaches sign the lineup sheet. If they are incorrect in any way, we need to take the lineup sheet back to the coach and say, hey, can you fix this, this, and this, okay? Once they turn them in, we're going to give them to the table. Before we can get the game started, we need to have the R2 check the lineup. You can have 1 or 2 lineups in your hands, but you're going to walk out onto the court and you are going to make sure that each girl is in the correct spot according to the lineup sheet. Once you have checked and made sure that it is the same as the lineup sheet, you are going to then let the R1 know who the captain is. Most girls in club will say C and point to the captain, and then that captain will wave to the R1. But I think the official way to do the signal is to go like this and then point, okay? So we've checked this lineup, they are good to go. We're gonna walk over here on this side of the court. We're gonna check the lineup and we're going to say, okay, captain is 4. All right, then we're gonna hand our lineup sheets back to the table. Once everything is turned in and we are ready to play, we are going to check with our table and make sure, are you guys ready to play? Are you good? They're going to give us the hand signals that we are ready. This is the ready hand signal. So they are ready to play. We are going to turn to our R1 and we're going to show him the ready signal. As an R2, you are always mimicking the hand signals of the R1. So he will award the point. You're going to do that as well. And you will say why? Because it is out. There are 2 hand signals that you do not mimic with the R1. You do not beckon the serve. And you do not have to say the ball was in the net when a server serves the ball in the net. So the R1 is going to beckon the serve, and then let's say they volley for a little bit, and he is going to award the point because it was out. You are going to do those exact same hand signals. So no beckoning of the serve and no serving into the net. As an R2, you are always going to be on the opposite side of the ball. So you're going to be moving a little bit during the play. So let's say that this side of the court is serving. So we're going to be lining up on this side, watching them in their rotation. It's our responsibility to make sure that these players do not break out of their rotation too early before the ball is contacted. So let's say we see a very obvious break, like the setter breaks way too early out of this rotation, way before the ball is contacted. We're going to call that like this. Point on this side because they're out of rotation. Okay, this is a hand signal for out of rotation. You really won't see a lot of our R2s making this call as a club player, but it's something that we do need to pay attention to and make sure that they're not obviously breaking out of rotation too early, okay? Now, as you're stepping side to side, if the ball's on this side, we're gonna be on this side of the court, really what we're watching for are players in the net. So the best thing to be looking at is the top of the tape. Is the blocker gonna go up and touch the top of the tape? But you're not only watching the blocker, you're also watching any other girl in the net. But you have to remember that they have to be playing the ball for them to be illegally in the net. Let's say that the setter comes up ready to receive a ball and the ball ends up being shanked way in the corner. and maybe she brushes the side of the net, but she's not playing the ball at all. That's legal, she can do that. Not only are you watching for players in the net, like the block or the hitter, as soon as the ball is contacted, drop down and look at their feet. You're also watching for that center line. It is legal for players to step all the way over the line if nobody is around them in play, if they are not risking an injury with anybody around them. Now, if a hitter goes up, she hits the ball, steps over the net, and blockers are coming down really close to her, you need to call that. That is illegal. She cannot be stepping over the line, interfering with play like that. Let's say you do have a player that gets in the net. This is what the call is going to look like. You're going to blow your whistle once. Point on this side. She was in the net, number 5. You need to pay attention to the numbers and who was in the net. They're going to ask you, who was in the net? Who was it? Number 5 was in the net, okay? You award the point first, and then you tell why you awarded that point, because she was in the net. Let's say she crossed the center line. You're gonna do the same thing. One whistle, point on this side, center line. You're gonna point to the center line, number 7, okay? Show the numbers because you're paying attention to who it was. So the R2 is also responsible for timeouts and subs during play. Let's talk about timeouts. It is the coach's responsibility to get your attention and ask for a timeout. You are supposed to be the one that they reach out to. They're not asking the R1 for a timeout, they're supposed to be asking the R2. Make eye contact with them, okay? So just because you hear them like, I need to call a time, should I call a timeout, should I call a timeout, doesn't mean they're calling it. They need to acknowledge you and ask you for a timeout. Hey, can I get a timeout, please? When they ask you that, you're gonna blow your whistle once, timeout this side, okay? If it's on this side, we're gonna blow the whistle, timeout, this side. So the hand signals are a little bit different. You're going from this side, timeout, or this side, timeout. If you get them confused and you're over here like this, that's fine. But ideally, we want to be doing the signals on the correct side of the court. After you've called for a timeout, you will need to walk to your score table and confirm with them how many timeouts each team has taken. Teams are only allowed to take 2 timeouts per set. Once the R1 blows his whistle at the end of the timeout, you will need to show him how many timeouts each team has taken by holding up a 0, a 1, or a 2. Let's say the team on our left has taken 2 timeouts and the team on the right has taken no timeouts. We will show him at the end of the timeout this hand signal. A 2 and a 0. He will then mimic that hand signal back to you, confirming that he knows how many timeouts each team has taken. It's a really good thing every time the ball is dead and in between a play to look at each bench and see if the coaches are going to want to call timeout, okay? Pay attention and be ready for that. Now let's talk about subs. It is your responsibility to be looking and watching for subs. Sometimes you'll have your score table tell you, hey, you have a sub coming up on the right. So let's imagine that we have 2 subs being made on this side and 1 sub being made on this side. A good R2 is going to make the sub and then tell the book what the score is, okay? Now remember, depending on which side you're subbing, you have to say their score first. So here's what it's gonna look like, okay? 4 for 7, go ahead. Score is 10-3. 8 for 9, go ahead. Score is 10-3. 4 for 17, go ahead. Score is 3-10. Are you ready? Good? Okay. All right, did that make sense? So you only have to blow the whistle once. Well, you're gonna do 2 beeps. That's your sub. Okay, you're gonna show him the subbing signal, but you don't have to blow it every time a sub goes in. If you have multiple subs, you just have to do it one time, send them on their way. A good R2 will tell them the score. It helps with the book so they can just write it down very quickly. You're gonna sub them in, you're gonna say who's going in first. Say that number first. 15 for 7, 8 for 9, okay? That's how you should say it properly. Let's talk about the hand signal for game point. Once a team reaches 24 points, your score table will let you know, hey, it's game point on the left. You will then have to point to your left and show that it is game point on your left side to your R1. If it's on the right side, you're gonna point the opposite direction. So game point can look like this or this. Your R1 will then mimic that signal back to you, confirming he knows it's game point for that team. Now, let's say that the set is complete and we're getting ready to start our second set. As soon as the first set is finished, you need to go pick up the lineup sheets and go and hand them to the correct coaches on each side, okay? Then they're gonna hand them back into you, and you're gonna make sure that they are filled out correctly, and you're gonna hand them back into the score table. Hopefully you won't have to go to 3 sets, but sometimes you will. You're gonna do the same thing for each set. Make sure you're mimicking the calls, make the calls correctly as best as you can. You're going to make mistakes, you're only human, but just get out there and make the best calls that you can and try and have a good time with it. All right, I hope you guys have learned a lot in this video. If you have any questions, please comment them down below and I will try and answer them for you. If not, I hope you guys have a great club volleyball season and do your best as a working team. Bye!